Welcome to Dad's Rules podcast with Kevin Belzer, and we are on to part 4. I almost forgot what part we were on because we just keep
4,
going.
14, whatever.
Yeah, I was like,
we're having fun.
I knew that when we started, and I forewarned you this before you even came in via Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger, I don't remember which one it was, but when I warned you on there, I'm like, this is probably going to be a few parts because I had a feeling that we get along anyway, so I was like, we're going to get off on some tangents here.
Yeah, I was telling Dakota that it's really funny that the commonalities of our way of thinking about a lot of things is really fascinating to me. It's again, we're in this circle that we're in because of that. You know? And so it's nice. Yeah.
Okay, so Michael is with Mr. Sunshine Soulur. And we are going to dive right in before we get side.
Mr. Sunshine Soulur.
You are Mr. You legit are. I mean, that image is you, the whole 9 yards. But we're going to dive right into your guide, Soulur for Dummies and Smarties. We were actually supposed to be diving into this
2 episodes ago, something like that.
Yeah, but we got a little sidetracked, which is.
I got to tell you real quick on the cover, the reason it's called Soulur for Dummies and Smarties is because originally the original version was Soulur for Dummies, and I'd put something out there, and somebody was insulted. And now I hate to use this term, but a Kevin, right? Instead of a Karen, it was a Kevin. It was a guy.
I don't think the Karen, the male version, is Kevin.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Okay, well.
No, we're not going to let that one catch on.
Okay, we're not going to. So, a Dave was.
There is a term for it. It's not Kevin. I can't remember what it is.
We'll have to figure that out. You'll give an update on another episode. So I literally, because of that, that one person, I changed it to Soulur for Dummies and Smarties. And he actually did me a huge favor because a lot of people pick up on that. Yeah. Like, oh, somebody got offended by you call him a dummy. It's exactly what happened.
Not only that, it's also it sticks in your mind. It is a good idea.
I wish I could take credit for the inception or the prompting of the idea, but yeah, it's funny.
Okay, we're about ready to go.
So what do we got? What you got for me?
Okay, so what we're going to do, and this will take however many episodes it takes, but we're going to dive into Soulur for Dummies and Smarties. There's a bunch of questions in here that you were supposed to ask whoever the Soulur rep is, correct?
It's again, to just really preface it, you don't know what you don't know. Yep. Therefore, you can't possibly know what questions you really need to ask and what questions need to be asked or points need to be brought up to you as the consumer. And so if these points aren't brought up or these questions aren't asked, it should serve as a huge red flag that they either don't know to ask or they don't care to ask. And then the questions that are in here for you to ask, some of them are very simple and obvious. Some of them are not so simple, depending on your exposure to it. And then there are a number of questions in here that you would likely never think to ask that are actually very important. So it's a leverage tool to help level the playing field.
Yeah, and the reason that I want to be doing this is that I want people to be fully educated on it. This is the biggest expense, I think it's fair to say, that you would do on a home. It's way more than an AC unit.
More than a roof.
More than a roof. It's more than everything.
Yeah.
And so this is something that you're going to want to be properly educated on because there's over 500 companies just in Arizona that sell this.
Sell this stuff, yeah.
Yep. Sell this or
And again, you use the right term, educated on, not sold on. Anybody can be sold on solar. It's super easy to sell it.
Yeah.
Educating consumers on the critical things that most other companies simply can't, won't, or don't.
Well, and the education now is totally different than it was 15 years ago. So this is going to be current to today, 2023, when we're recording this. It's going to be current data. It's going to be a totally different talk that we would have had even 15 years ago.
That's it. This is the 2023 edition. I think it says that on there. It does it there on the lower.
It does actually say, oh, wow, you've got a lot of little Easter eggs on here that I didn't notice. So let's go right into question number one. Question number one, something that the consumer is supposed to be aware of is whether the sales consultant asks them were you asked for a copy of an electric bill or were you asked for a complete usage and billing data report?
Right. So this, and the reason that's the first one is it's one of the most critical things, right? Okay. This is the old adage, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if a rep is asking for an electric bill, on that electric bill, we've all seen the graph, right? That goes up and down.
Yep.
And over on the side, there's the numbers. And what they do is they go, okay, well, June was this, it's over here. So they used about 300 kilowatt hours. And then up here, we used, the line says over here, 900. And it's highly inaccurate. It's just a very, very rudimentary visual representation of your usage history, where the usage and billing data report from your online account from the utility company will show you total kilowatt hours of usage, which is like gallons or, total kilowatt hours of usage broken down month by month, peak and off peak, along with the associated usage charges and the total billed charges. Because you don't just pay for usage, you pay a bill. In that bill is your usage, generation, transfer fees, monthly connection fee, taxes, other surcharges, and all that other stuff. So that's what we have to actually compare against. And all of that data is in there.
So question, I'm glad it shows you the data on the peak and off peak, because that was a major question for me. Because I know that there's a huge difference in that, especially if you're an APS. In Arizona, if you're an APS customer, it's a huge difference for that.
Yeah, same. And all of them it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what it shows on there, I want to get solar so that I can have the availability to be using during peak hours more, like do my laundry during that time, or run my AC cooler. That you know what I'm saying? I
call it living life more conveniently.
Yes. Can you figure out from the billing how to adjust that?
Absolutely, we can.
Okay.
And
because that would be a major thing for me. Because what I hate is I work from home and I take a break every about 50 minutes because you should. You need to get up, move around, just recalibrate, whatever.
I need to learn that one.
And during that time, I'm generally doing dishes, throwing a load in of laundry, whatever. That I literally cram in that. When I'm done at the end of the day, my laundry's done, everything's done because I've spent that time throughout the day doing it. So when I'm done with work, I'm literally done. The house is done.
That's a good idea.
It is a brilliant idea, and I couldn't do it before I worked from home. But anyway, what I hate is that I see now it's 3:00 in the afternoon, and I can't run dishes, and yet I want to run dishes.
Right. So, yeah, the way I've studied things and figured things out and trained my people, we do have the ability to take a look at that usage, that breakdown. And we also have a questionnaire that we go through with every homeowner, and it's, I believe, 39 questions. When we pull it out, it looks like a lot.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long because they're not explaining anything through this questionnaire. They're just getting the information.
Yeah.
And it tells us a lot of what we need to know and understand to formulate our decision. And again, if a company is not doing that, you need to say, oh, you know what? I got to go. Thanks, man. I'm sorry. Something came. Save your time.
Oh,
right?
I've seen people throw the solar on the roof, and there's no savings. There was no savings at all. And I'm like, well, thank you. Now I have a product that, how am I supposed to explain this to the next person? Because I asked you for bills prior to you having solar and solar now because they want to see the difference. And I'm showing that you're actually spending more now.
Yeah.
Because you've shifted all your usage.
I see it all the time.
And you've dropped your AC, which I won't do because I don't like the house cold anyway. But I've seen you drop your AC from, say, 78 down to 64.
They'll drop it from like 80 to 74, 75, or 78 down to that range. And we call it going on solar holiday.
Solar holiday.
We call it going. Oh yeah, we've got solar, and they hear the term. The sun has an unlimited amount of energy to provide, so they just put the two together and think, oh, we've got solar now. We have this unlimited supply of power, and the rep doesn't educate them properly that's not how it works. That's why we have different size systems. They have a finite ability the ability to produce a finite amount of energy given a variety of different circumstances.
Okay, perfect. We can spend all day on that one, but we'll never get through the book. Next one. How long have you, the rep, been in the solar industry, and can they verify it? Why is this important?
Well, because generally speaking, especially newer reps, they don't want to. They themselves don't want to feel like they're not credible or have enough experience because the buyer might not buy. So they will embellish it. They will say, "Oh, yeah, I've been doing this for like 5 years. I got thousands of customers." When they've been, if you look them up on social media and you see them getting their award for Salesman of the Month at Dave's Discount Used Auto Sales in downtown Phoenix 5 weeks ago.
Yeah,
right.
That's a great point.
It's you got to question it, and you gotta have them verify it, and there are tactful ways to do it so you don't insult them, but at the same time, it's your money, right?
It is.
It's not like a $500 this or that.
Is this just another sales job to you if you decide to make a career out of it?
Yeah.
Next one. Are you an employee or an independent sales contractor, W-2 or 1099? Why does this one matter?
Well, it's one of those things. It's not a huge thing, but if you're a direct employee, there tends to be more accountability on the company.
Okay,
right?
so are they salary then, or?
So they might make a salary, or they might be straight commission.
Okay.
They might be straight commission as a 1099 or an independent agent, or straight commission as a W-2. Now the difference being is, as a direct employee, there's more accountability for the end result or results from an employee. An independent agent is an independent agent. They are representing themselves, selling your product, offering your contract.
Okay.
And so their proposal can say and claim anything it wants. It is separate from the contract. The contract is the be-all, end-all.
Okay.
So system side, there's particular factors, but contracts don't talk about the proposed savings, the proposed leftover bill, things like that. That's all in the proposal. When it comes to court, it's the contract that matters.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
No,
it's the contract.
I understand.
So
that's the same thing in real estate.
So, independent agents are what's mostly prevalent in this industry. Finding somebody that directly represents the actual installation company, the real solar company, is a safer way to go.
Okay, makes sense. How many years has the company you represent been in business? Long-term experience usually makes a significant difference.
Yeah, because it's just like with solar, they claim that they've been doing it this long and have this many customers. Installation companies, we joke and say every guy that's installed at least 2 solar panels on 2 houses has, multiple sales and has installed multiple panels.
Oh.
And they don't have the experience.
Hey, it's true in real estate too.
And it's so the installation side of thing, the same thing happens. Guys want to jump out way too soon and become the installer, and you need to be able to look at their history and longevity, because experience generally improves with quality generally improves with experience over time.
Okay. Where is the company headquartered? Nearest location? If they don't have a reasonably local presence, 250 miles or less, service may be an issue. I could see that.
Right. Yeah. Just, we'll roll a truck out to you, but you're 400 miles away. They're reluctant to do it.
Yeah.
Right. 250 miles is still a long way, but you know what? We cover the entire state, and we have a couple different spots and locations, so we can get to a customer in a reasonable amount of time.
Perfect. I have had clients who said, well, my solar's been down a month. Yeah. Or 2 months. I had one that I know they were over 2 months, just under 3 months that they were down without it.
And when their system is down, it's the technology that they're using. It instantly tells me they're using a single inverter instead of micro inverters, which are individual inverters. And there was a supply chain problem for a couple of years with the biggest one out there. And it was causing these extensive delays to replace them.
Yeah, it's like 2020 was 3 years ago, but the weird thing is the supply chain is still a mess throughout all industries.
Yeah,
and
I think
there's no fix to it.
But it's not as bad as it was. At least it doesn't seem to me on my end.
It kind of depends what industry you're in. There's some that they're still hurting and they just can't keep up, and God only knows when they will be able to.
I'm not paying $8 for a 2x4 anymore, which is good.
Oh yeah, $60-some for a chunk of plywood. Yeah, good times. Does the company have their own electricians in-house, or are they outsourced?
So having an in-house electrician, they're going to be familiar with the processes and procedures of the installation. Not all installations are the same.
Yep.
And so having that in-house person They're also able to help check the plan sets before they go out to install. It just makes for a more efficient thing versus using an outsourced
More
individual.
streamlined too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So time efficiency, it does, days matter, so yeah.
I love this next one. Is a company licensed, bonded, and insured? And I like what you wrote in green. Always look it up with the state registrar of contractors to verify. Always look it up with the state registrar of contractors to verify. Very, very important. We see this with contractors in general in the state of Arizona, that this could be an issue.
I've seen a quote from a company that put, or a proposal that put a copy of their license on the proposal, and it had my company's license number on it.
Wow.
Okay. You guys, so is your company licensed? Oh yeah, we're licensed. Here's a copy of this or whatever.
It's not the only it's not the only time I've heard that story, but what'd you end up doing?
I'm like, wait, 337. I was like, wait a minute. First I pointed it out and I said,
You reach out to Rock?
Yeah, we let the registrar of contractors know.
Okay.
Also contacted the company directly with the customer to ask them. And so didn't say that we thought something was up. I was just sitting there waiting I was fully expecting it. In this particular company, the management said, no, we're not an installer. We're an agency and we use this other company. And so the rep had manipulated the proposal to satisfy the customer, and they got back to us and let us know that rep had been released from their agreement.
Okay,
with
so
them.
they did the right thing.
They did.
So they didn't know that somebody was doing this.
No, apparently not. So
I mean, it sounds like they didn't. If they got rid of the person that.
Yeah, there's some crazy things that go on out there just to appease the customer. I think because most people understand the reality is that most people don't check. Most people don't read their purchase agreement or their contract. Most people, if they have a problem, if they get totally burned, most people will not sue that contractor. They will not take it to get justice. They'll just take it in the shorts, take it on chin because the hassle it can be. And it's unfortunate. It really is. I mean, not
it's
that
the hassle and it's the expense as well.
Yeah, I don't want to create a more litigious society, right? It's already bad enough because of all the people suing over unnecessary things. But the only way to probably the best way to hold people or businesses accountable is hit them in the pocketbook, hit their bank account, right?
Yeah.
And be public about it. Go to the licensing boards, whatever service or product it might be. Go to the Attorney General's office. They're overwhelmed. The AG's office is grossly overwhelmed with.
Well, you look how far they're behind. Like it took them years to get it right with a couple home warranty companies that were out there doing bad things. And it took them years. And yet us in the industry knew, and we're advising our clients, do not use these home warranty companies because they do not do repairs. But yet the AG was so overwhelmed with everything he's got going on.
Yeah, they've got, unfortunately.
They're buried.
Yeah.
They're buried. The office doesn't have enough because we're misallocating state funds and all that fun stuff. But yeah, it's frustrating because when we know there's a problem and we're trying to educate the public on don't do business with these people, yet this company had a lot of money behind them to keep advertising, keep marketing, keep stealing people's money in the state of Arizona. But it was nice seeing a couple of those home warranty companies get hit with some nasty fines.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Is the company the actual installer or a sales agency that utilizes a separate installer?
So this goes back to, and we've mentioned it a few times, there's over 500 quote-unquote solar companies in the state of Arizona. Most of them are sales agencies that have a agreement with an EPC or an installer. EPC is engineering, procurement, and construction. So the actual installer that does the plans, gets the permits, they have the trucks, and they do all of the work. The sales org is just I jokingly say, they make the promises, right? We keep the promises. It's just, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Accountability is, if you're dealing directly with the installer, the level of accountability is just monumentally higher because they have to deal with it.
Hey, I had a client that had an issue with their solar system. Something wasn't working right on it, and the company did right, came and fixed it. When it was time to sell that home, they had nothing but nice things to say about that company when we passed it on. And plus, they could pass it on to the next buyer and go, hey, here's what happened. And they took care of it.
Yep.
And they took care of it in a timely manner, and there was no issues ever again.
And what happens with that is if their neighbor, another neighbor ends up talking about who does your solar, even though they weren't the ones that originally contracted them, they're still going to recommend that company.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Next one. Are the system designs done by the sales rep, an in-house designer, an outsourced design firm, or estimating/proposal software?
Yeah. So, we all see these fancy proposals, and you have the ability to just drag and drop panels on the house and turn them different ways and stuff.
I didn't know that.
They've gotten very sophisticated,
Okay.
and the rep can do that, and that way they can, one call close the deal.
Yeah.
And sometimes it makes sense, but the thing is, depending on the software, there are definitely issues and guesswork, or the input data that is being used for calculation purposes is manipulated by the company. They'll say that a panel facing this direction will produce X amount of energy when it really won't.
So it's not like the software that roofers are using, because that stuff is down to the
It is. It's similar, but
it can't do yet to the level of what.
Yeah, because we're talking about an item, a panel.
Correct.
Producing electricity.
Yeah, totally
and so
different.
if it's facing one direction versus another, or is it tilted slightly a certain way, it's going to produce more or less.
Yeah.
That same panel.
So it's like if it's on the north side versus the south side, or if there's a tree at this spot, because I had a client that had to remove a tree.
Right.
I would need a tree removed, which is fine by me because I hate the stupid tree. Well, it's eating my sidewalk because it decided to grow across.
Getting this?
My flagstones. Yeah. So I'm like, well, maybe I have that ripped out, have all new pavers put in, same time do the panels on the roof, and I have to plant another tree because the HOA requires it, but get a less violent tree, I guess.
So just one last point on the engineering design. So using an outsourced engineering design company or having somebody in-house that can do it, they're both going to be good. They're engineers.
Okay.
These are the people that really, they do the line drawings. They get into the what I call the sniggly bits, right? The fine detail to make sure that the system being proposed will do X, and it will be positioned with X, and it's going to use this equipment, this wire, blah, 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 blah. I mean, all the details.
So you don't want an uneducated sales rep doing it. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Are the system production and saving estimations done by the sales rep, an in-house designer, an outsourced design firm, or estimating proposal software?
So this follows the last thing.
Seems like a part two.
Is the calculations, right? So I was speaking to that. We input the data, when we're sitting down with the customer or after the fact of their usage and things like that. The data that then gets connected to the other data that has the calculation baselines in it, that can be manipulated. And so you can have this software that says, if this panel's here, it'll produce X, and it might not actually produce X, but they'll say that it does because it looks better. It's going to save more money.
Yeah.
It's going to calculate their average cost per kilowatt hour, current average cost per kilowatt hour, higher than it actually is.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things. And so custom software being utilized by a company, you can't trust it. It could be super accurate, it could be spot on, but you have no way of knowing.
Oh, okay.
So the big brand ones, there's Aurora, Siton, Solo. Open Solar is my favorite one. I've used them all.
Okay.
And one called Open Solar is they actually tie into a service called NREL, which is the national database that keeps track of the sun. and what it produces.
So that one's pretty accurate.
It's dead nuts accurate. It will tell exactly what a panel facing.
And based on angle of roof. And so it's figuring everything
this
out.
many degrees south, tilted at 20 degrees, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I geek out over that because that's what I'd want to know.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have too few panels, and I don't want to have too many panels.
Oh, no, you definitely don't want too many. Well, that's a...
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We'll get to that. We'll do a couple more of these, and we'll have to go to part 5. Are the installers direct employees or subcontracted? If the response is yes, verify it.
If they're direct employees, verify it. Because again, going back to an earlier thing was, do you work for the installer? Are you W-2, 1099? A lot of times they know this question. It's off-putting to the homeowner, so they'll say, "Oh yeah, no, we work directly for them. We're a direct employee." I see this particularly with a company that's very well known, and they, for the first many years in the industry, they only had directs. They only had direct employees. They did not use independent agents. They've shifted away from that in recent years.
Really?
Not shifted away, but they've added indirect agents to their.
Does it rhyme with Lesla?
And no, it does. It actually doesn't. So they, these independent agents, you can get a quote from the company. Okay. The two proposals look the same, but the numbers are different. And because the independent agent has more control over the numbers and manipulating them. Okay. And so being direct, any of the employees being direct or indirect can make a difference in the accuracy of that proposal.
The next question is a pretty deep one. So I got a feeling we should hold that for the next one because you're going to go off on this one. It has to do with all the financing and the leasing and all that. We're going to save that one because I am ridiculously curious on that one. So we're going to call a time on episode 4, pick the maybe not the rest of the pamphlet up, the guide up in the next episode. So if you like the show, like, share, review, comment, leave feedback. It all helps the show grow. Hit the swag shop, dadsruleswag.com. Until next time, go out and be the kick-ass adult I know you all can be.